Hey everyone, welcome to Princess and the Pod. This is season 1, episode 2, called 2%. I am your host, Yvette, and today I will be talking about my why. So I had a really unconventional acceptance and experience in my perio and implant residency. So I loved perio. It's a 3-year program after 4 years of dental school. And I had a really unconventional acceptance. I found out 2 weeks before the program started that I was accepted into the program, and I was so thankful and so grateful to be given that opportunity and that chance. And this day, I was assisting one of the upperclassmen in surgery. I was super excited this morning. I parked my car and headed to clinic. I was crossing the crosswalk on my way to the clinic when my whole life completely changed. So as I was crossing the crosswalk, I was struck by a very large SUV. Picture about the size of a large pickup truck, and that impacted my left side of my body, and I was thrown 20 yards from that impact. The first thing that hit the pavement was the back of my occipital. And so immediately my occipital fractured and I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage. This is a brain bleed underneath your brain. And I had 2 temporal hemorrhages, so one on each side, and then a frontal lobe brain bleed from the impact of the SUV hitting my body. The lower left lobe of my lung collapsed and my spleen was also ruptured, and it just was emptying out all of its contents into all of my internal organs. And also my liver was bruised as well from that. While that happened, there were some students headed to class, and a few of them saw what happened and ran to render aid and also secure the scene. Because as you can imagine, this was a busy intersection and there were other cars coming and going. So those students stayed with me until the ambulance came and they were able to get me into the emergency room. One of those students, I have to give a special shout out to him because he eventually went on to become a periodontist. So it's a super small world, and I think that's such a lovely coincidence. I actually don't remember being hit by the SUV at all. The last thing I remember was knowing I was hit by a car, but I completely blacked out after that. I was rushed into the intensive care unit in the emergency room, and from there, the doctors went on to do what they had to do. When the accident happened, word quickly spread. My program director went over there. Our administrator went over there. Some of the residents went to the hospital, guessing it was a chaotic scene. So I had about a 2% survival chance just from that accident and the subarachnoid hemorrhage. And I spent the next 2 weeks in intensive care unit, and then I spent 2 months in the hospital. So once I was stable, I was moved to a different floor. Once I was a little bit more stable, then I was moved to these little casitas, which was still 24/7 hour care because I couldn't stay home alone. And slowly but surely, I got better. I was able to go back into residency, and they slowly eased me back in. My first quarter, I missed most of it. And then my second quarter, I was part-time, and everybody was really, really helpful in trying to see me through. While I also navigated through doctor's appointments, I had a lot of physical therapy appointments, occupational therapy, cognitive therapy, and endocrine. From the impact, my pituitary was also necrosed and damaged. So my hormones were all over the place. They're just non-existent. And so I was navigating residency and learning all of the literature, all of the new procedures, while also dealing with this life-altering incident. But I had a lot of support, I had a lot of help, and I had a lot of people that were rooting for me. So despite those 2% odds, eventually I finished the program my second year. I doubled up on PGY1 and PGY2 classes, was able to graduate somewhat on time, just 1 quarter later, and I was part-time that last quarter. So that is my why. I figured the odds of me getting into perio were probably about 2% anyway, and I had Pero's completely changed my life for the better. And after I was accepted and I was super happy and excited, then my life completely changed in an instant, and really truly it was a total accident. And I figure if I got through residency with everything that happened and I did well, and why not share with others, and hopefully just one person hears my story and what I've gone through, and they go for whatever they've been thinking about, whether it's a residency program or maybe they want to move to a new city or whatever it is. I just really thought that by sharing my story with other people aside from my residents and my students, that I could hopefully make a difference in one person's life. So that is my story and that is my why. Drop any questions you might have in the comment section below and I will gladly answer them, and I will see you next week, where I start diving into why I decided to do a start from scratch perio office instead of any other route like buying an existing perio office. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed your drive home, drive to work, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week.